Hey, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's great having you on this show. Thank you for joining Making a Difference with Sandra Ukoh. It's great to have you on this show. We have a special guest with us today. His name is Professor Oluwaseun Oyekola. But before we go on to talk about and start the interview, the live interview, I will just tell you in a brief what this show is basically focused on. It's a show making a difference with Sandra Ukoh. We train, we teach, we mentor, we coach people on how we can be better versions of ourselves in the areas of our finances, in our career, business wise, leadership, and relationship. We learn from other people's stories. We learn from other people's experience that we might be able to ride on the experience to avoid the same pitfalls that they fell into in order for us to be able to get to our end point and our targets and our vision much early than reinventing the wheel. And with that, we're able to do great in all sphere of life. We're able to do great financially, spiritually, physically, and mentally. We are just, we have the right balance. And before I go in, that's what we do basically in making a difference. We write on people's experience, people's story. We learn from how they overcame, how they went through it, and they overcame. And basically, I wrote a book. This is my book. Can anything hold you back? I'm an author. I'm a John Maxwell certified coach, speaker, and trainer, and also an author. I have this book I just, published. And if you've not had this copy of this book, please, I'm encouraging you to go get the book. You can get it on Amazon, Jumia, from wherever you are. And it's a book. Can anything hold you back? Can anything keep you from becoming the best versions of yourself? Nothing should keep you back in this year 2022. So I want to be inviting and bringing up our guests this evening. His name is Professor Oluwaseun Oyekola. Glad to have you, Seun.
Hi everyone. Good day, Sandra. Thanks for having me on your show. It's such a privilege.
So before you start anything, let me just give a short bio of who Professor Seun is. Professor Oluwaseun Oyekola is an associate professor at the Department of Chemical Engineering, CPOT. He holds a PhD in chemical engineering and a PhD deep in education from the University of Cape Town, South Africa. Master's degree in biochemistry from Rhodes University, South Africa, and bachelor's honor degree in biochemistry from University of Ibadan, the greatest university, Nigeria, and his research interests are basically in engineering, education, research, recovery from waste materials, renewable energy, bioremediation of wastewaters. He mentors, coaches, and teaches. He's passionate about youth development, and that's a life of significance, living a life of significance. We appreciate you, and we're glad to have you on this show. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sandra.
And I think I would want you to just give a brief of yourself. I think the viewers will want to know you better. I just gave a short bio about you. You just tell us more about yourself. Let them get to know you.
Thank you. I believe you've done. You've pretty much covered, most everything about me in terms of my career. And then, I'm based in South Africa. I'm based in Cape Town, South Africa, and yeah. So I'm in the academia. As I've said earlier on, that I appreciate Sandra for having me on the show. She's someone I've known for, I believe, 27 years now. It's been quite a while. So it's great to, be sharing similar passion. It's great to be to be so passionate about impacting others. That's something I've always believed that life is about. That life is about purposeful living. Life is about being intentional. Life is about giving to others. Life is about living legacy. Those have been things that drive me when it comes to life. Thank you.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And you just I was telling you some time ago about the conference. I don't know if I mentioned it to you. I just got back from a conference. And
Yes,
it
yeah,
is leading with significance. Life
yeah,
is only lived when you are able to impact people around you. And what he
yeah.
did said was like, we are transformational leader. We are
Mm,
transforming lives all around. And that's what we have been sent to do. We're meant to transform the people we meet,
yeah,
leaving them better than we initially met.
yeah.
People come into your life for a certain reason,
around you.
and God
And what
allowed
he
it
did
for
said was like,
purpose.
we are
You get what I
transformational
mean?
here.
And
We
once
are
they come
transforming
into your
lives
life,
all
they
around.
are
And
meant
that's
to
what
impact
people said
you.
to.
They're
They're meant
meant
to
to
transform
leave
people.
you better than you initially met them. Thank you for coming on the show. And before we go
Leaving them
in,
better than
my colleague, his
yeah.
name is
People come into
Financial
your life
Paul.
for a
He
reason.
has
And God, and what he
a
did said
show
was like,
that he runs, and the show is done every, I think, weekly. Become Rich Africa. His name is Financial Paul. Paul, I don't know if you're online now, if you want to speak and introduce yourself so that people get to know you better.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, but your video is not
Yeah,
on.
can you hear me, everyone?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm trying to fix this now. I'm trying to fix this immediately. Okay, so let me try and see if I could. I just had to
Yeah, we can
give
see
us
you.
what's it
Yeah,
called? It
I can see you.
okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, good evening, sir, Mr. Shegu and Sandra. I'm Financial Paul. So sorry, I should have joined us earlier on. I had to just meet up with one or two stuffs. So, Financial Paul actually talks on business and investment. I'm a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountant, and I have a YouTube channel called Financial Paul Channel. Another platform I teach a lot of people on business, investment, and the likes, how to make, manage, and multiply their finance. Because a lot of people in this current season are really boxed in the corner, looking at the strangulating economy all over the world, not only in Nigeria. And we look at different business and investment people can do that can help them make, manage, and multiply their income. So, and I'm glad I'm on this show with Sandra and my professor, Mr.
Professor
Sher.
Professor Oluwaseun Oyekola. I think you're missing.
Brother Oluwaseun, I've heard a lot about you. Like for 2-3 weeks, Sandra has been telling me, "Oh, this guy is coming. He's coming. Mr. Shehu is coming," and
Thank you.
I'm always I'm waiting to hear and learn from you, sir.
Thank
Thank
you,
Yeah.
you.
Paul. Yeah, looking forward to learning from you as well. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, before we go in, I actually want to just say thank you for my viewers watching, everyone watching. Thank you. I already reiterated what this show is all about. We learn from people's story, we learn from their experience. And that's because for us not to repeat or reinvent the wheel, we don't want to fall into the same pitfalls the people in the past has fallen into. We can learn from them, latch on to their experience, and ride faster to get our goals earlier and faster. And he says, if you want to go far in life, you go with people. But if you want to go fast, you go alone. So we are going together as a team. We're working as a team. There is so much power in working. He says 1,000. He said one shall put 1,000 to flight. But when two come together, we'll put 10,000 to flight. So we are 3 years coming together to discuss. And I think we're going to be rubbing the minds. And our viewers want to say thank you for staying put. And I hope you have your pen and everything ready. Shewon is a scholar, is an academia. I've known him for the past 27 years as a classmate. I didn't want to mention that. We went to school together. Greatest UIs.
Yeah,
We're together.
great.
And, after school, he went further. He didn't stop. I just knew that, we were never in church. Shewon was nowhere to be found. We just got to know that Shewon was in South Africa. And we've heard so many stories what Shewon is doing. And I said, Shewon, you can't afford to escape this one. I'll have to bring you on this channel so that those in academics and those in other institute of education trying to pass knowledge to people can learn. And even those who are thinking of venturing into, teaching, lecturing, it's a very impactful sphere of life. It's a very impactful business or experience you can gain. You're touching lives, and you never know the lives you'll touch, how far they will go. So right now, Shewon, I want to find out from you what informed your career, what informed the pathway. For every reason, sometimes our parents will say, okay, read this course. Did you have that passion to come in to read about chemistry to the extent that you went into lecturing and you've been reading all your life? I know you. And now you're a professor in such a short while. I would say maybe you're one of the youngest professor I know. So I want you to talk to the audience. Tell us what informed your chosen career.
Yeah, thanks, Sandra. So, in terms of my career, I can say that, as they say, when it comes to teaching, that teaching is a calling. That's what people say. That is not something that you just want to dabble in as you wish. And growing up, it's something that I, way back, even as way far back as elementary school, I'll help my friends with their maths, with their homework, with their assignment. That continued, even up until high school, and then the university, will arrange tutorial with friends, and that, so that is been my passion. And I think another thing is has been in my parents. I must give kudos to them in terms of my career path. I sometimes I still wonder what they saw in me, the kind of decisions that I made, how I they allowed me to make decisions on my own. They guided those decisions, but they gave me, they gave me a lot of latitude. They gave me, that autonomy to make certain decisions myself at a very early age. I still remember, as early as 10 years old, when I was going to into the high school. I had two options of secondary schools that I could go into. And my parents asked me, they could have easily just told me, that you'll be going into this secondary school. But they asked me which one did I want to go to. I picked, and that was it. And I remember even when it came to going into the university as well, I wanted to study medicine, which I was so passionate.
Mighty, mighty.
Sandra is already laughing because we had similar story. We've got similar story. So I wanted to study medicine, and then based on the
Damn.
matriculation exam that we did, I didn't meet the cutoff mark, and so I got in to study biochemistry. And even to do that again, going back to my parents, then I had two options. It was either I do biochemistry or physiology. I remember growing up, if you are good in physics, chemistry, biology, by default, if I could put it that way, our knowledge was limited. The people would say, you know what, you should go study pharmacy or medicine. If you are good in mathematics, further maths, people would say, go do engineering. So we weren't exposed to those other courses, physiology and biochemistry. I didn't know anything about those, physiotherapy at that point.
Yeah.
So my parents giving me the option again, was something that I must say still blows my mind till date, because I was 16 years old at that point when I was getting into the university. So I chose biochemistry. I believe that apart from the fact that my parents gave me the latitude, I believe God was also directing my path. So I got into biochemistry, and as many of us wanted to, I was hoping that by second year, I would be able to change into
It would
medicine.
change.
That didn't happen either. So I just continued. So I thought, you know what? Let me just put in my best into this. Let me get the best I could get out of this. So I did that. And by the time I finished, and remember then we had the university was closed down for almost a year at some
Yeah.
point. So, but this even with that, I was still able to finish my first degree by age 21. So by that time, people, told me, and I was advised, you're still young. You could easily go back to doing medicine. By this time, you even have the leverage in the sense
As a
that
biochemist.
biochemistry, and you remember, biochemistry used to be a subject that medical students found very difficult.
Yes, they
So
were
I
always
felt
failing
like,
it.
I had that leverage that if you've studied biochemistry,
It'd be
doing
good.
medicine should be relatively easy at some
Easy.
point. But I told myself, what, I'll just continue on this path. So I did my master's, and also seeing what was happening then, I told myself, what, I wasn't going to stay back and do my postgraduate degrees back home in Nigeria. But so I had, that's the other thing I would like to emphasize in this talk. So I've talked about my parents, I've talked about, divine guidance. Another thing has to do with relationship, having mentors around me. I remember one of our lecturers then, I don't know if Sandra still remembers, Professor Odunuga, was an older friend, a
Yeah.
friend of mine. He came to South Africa to do his PhD at that point, and our relationship, had continued. We were friends because I knew him outside the
Okay.
university. He wasn't just a lecturer. So that was how I came to South Africa. So did my master's degree, and based on the kind of research that I was involved in. So I moved from biochemistry to chemical engineering to do my PhD. So that's how my career path has been. So it's been relationships, it's been God, it's been, my parents' support, that I can say those are the things that have brought me this far in terms of my career path.
That's awesome. Very awesome. The God factor is a major one.
Yeah.
Sincerely, once you miss the path you are meant to run on, you'll be running somebody else's race. And
Yes.
you might have to come back again to start the race again. And
Yeah.
at this time, might not have time. And
Yeah.
that's why I tell
True.
people, I said, you need to be guided right.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why we're having this show, because there's still other things you might want to still do in life. You
Yeah.
need to be
Sure.
guided right. You
Yeah.
can't afford at this stage to make a mistake.
No,
Because
true.
sometimes after spending 10 or 15 years of your life, if you're not careful, you have to go back again to start over, start all over. And we don't want that. And that's the
Yeah.
reason I
Yeah.
came about this. How
Yeah.
do we impact the people coming
Yeah.
behind us, making them to understand that success is not accidental, success is intentional,
True
success is
that.
planned. You
Yeah.
must go out of your way. It is
Yeah.
not being in your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Sometimes it
True.
might not be too easy.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
might be a strain on you. You might have to go the extra mile. And beyond that, you need relationship.
Yeah.
You need mentors. You need people to talk, be around you. You
Yeah.
cannot run alone. That's why I said, if you want to go faster in life, you could go faster, but repeat the race again. But if you want to go far, you need people. You need to bring people of like minds together where you can learn from them. And your story was awesome. And I know that to me, I was saying Shemun was just there. Shemun left every one of us while we're going to look for how to live, how to get married and settled. Shemun went schooling. We didn't hear from Shemun after a long time. Though I went immediately to do my masters, but after masters, I didn't want to go. I wanted to work, and knowing that. After school, your parents are waiting for you to get out of school and start making that money for them.
Yeah.
So you can't say you want to go to school again. You have younger ones behind you. So you need to get into the job market, start bringing in money. And so it's been so awesome having you on this show. I want to ask, how do you cope? Perhaps going to school, where you always frequent home, now you're outside the country. Were your parents seeing you regularly? What informed, and even when you got married, how did your spouse found it? Because I know for you to be in chemical engineering, being in research, you need to be reading, you need to be at par.
Yeah. You've alluded to the fact, yeah, bless you, Sandra. You've alluded
Sorry.
to the fact that
Thank you.
one thing has to give, another thing, another important factor is sacrifice. So, having to leave home because it's going to be 20 years in April since I relocated here.
Wow.
So at that, yeah, so having to leave home at that point as well. And remember, I again, I'm going to give kudos to my parents on this, to have allowed me to. They knew nobody in South Africa, so they allowed me to relocate here at that age, at that stage in life. I was barely, yeah, I think I was 23. Yeah, I was 23 at that point. So having to allow me to go, excuse me, somewhere where there were no relatives, one. So it was a sacrifice. But regularly since then, I'll travel home regularly, and then I got married, just some similar to what you said earlier on. Once you have your own nuclear family, the dynamics change. So your focus now, I've got two children, and the support system, my primary support system now, aside from, now has to do with my wife. And I know, yeah, there are other relationships there, other friends, colleagues, and the rest. But the primary support now, apart from God, is my wife. She's a strong woman. She sacrifices a lot as well in order to, support my career. She's got her own career going as well. But one thing I must say is she has sacrificed a lot. And just as you also mentioned, to for you to be in the academia. I believe virtually every trade, whatever you do, whatever your vocation is, if you want to excel, it takes diligence, it takes a lot of sacrifice. So it's been, it's been sweat along the way, it's been sacrificed along the way, but over time, it's paid off. One another thing that one always needs to be at the back of one's mind has to do with delayed gratification, which still
Yeah.
speaks to sacrifice. So those things, if you don't sacrifice, if you don't sweat regarding things, I know, as it's been said, that there are different types of pains. There's a pain that you have while you are sacrificing, and there's another pain that you can have later on, which comes from regret. So I believe, it's essential to rather have a pain that while you're sacrificing than, while you regret. And there's also something in the Bible that talks about bear your yoke while you're young. So I believe, that is why it's essential, to do certain things as early as possible as one can in life. So, I knew, thank God, for people around me. So I knew what my vocation was. I knew what my calling was. I knew what my purpose was from an early age. So I just pursued it. I threw myself into it. I remember someone said you can divide phases of life. You can divide life into three phases. So the first phase, your first 30 years, the person called it your learning years. So that is when you're expected at least to have, gotten your first degree, your first 30 years, get your first degree. It will be an extra if you are to do a master's degree or a PhD. But primarily, if you have the opportunity, get your first degree, go into high school, have that. And then the second phase, the next 30 years is called the earning years, the
Yeah.
earning years. So that
Yeah.
is when you're expected, you should be working. It's either you've got a business going, you should have something that you call your own career. So you should have that. And that's why typically you'll have people retiring, from age 60 onward. So 30. And then the last phase of life has been called the yearning years. The yearning years. That's when you look back. That's when, between your 60s and 90s, that's when you now start looking back that what have you done with your years? What have you done with your life? Yeah. So those are the things that I can talk about in terms of how life has been, support sacrifice that have been made along the way.
Awesome. Awesome. I don't know. Paul, you have something to say before I say something? Hello.
You're muted, Paul.
I muted it, so but you can hear me now, right?
Very well.
Yes.
Yes. So I could resonate with what Mr. Sheon said. My professor, he said something. You can feel pain in two ways. It's
Yes.
either a pain of doing it. Oh,
Right.
the we are in Africa here. The light has been interrupted and I can't
Mhm.
stand up.
Yeah.
But you can hear me now.
Yeah,
Okay,
fine.
Yes, we can
Right.
still hear
the
you.
pain of doing it and the pain you feel, that's the regret of not doing it. And I could resonate with it because there was a time I was trying to do some things and I can tell you it wasn't easy at all, but I just had to pass through that period of doing that stuff, and I can tell you the result I got was just encouraging. And what if I had not done it? The pain of not doing it, apart from even the regret, the loss incurred if you didn't do those things would have been much more. So I had that penned out. So whenever I want to take an action now and I'm feeling a pain doing it, I'll be happy because I know that I would benefit from it instead of feeling the regret later on for not doing it. That's my take home. That's one of my take home.
That's awesome. Actually, when that resonated with me because there's this saying, it's my like a guiding principle for me. Delay gratification for future enjoyments.
Yeah.
Delay all the comfort you would want to have now for the future where you would have no so much, you might not have so much strength to really work. And when it spoke about the pain of sacrifice and the pain of regret, you never want to have the pain of regrets because time passed, time lost can never be gotten back. Money lost, Money missing can often be gotten back. You
Has
can
to
do
be
other
gotten.
business, but when you
Mm.
lose time, you can never go back to your past. And he says,
True
those who
that.
look back, those who look at the past, never move ahead.
Mm.
Because if you start regretting, start counting your losses, you will never move ahead. But in this aspect, what he said resonated with me, pain of sacrifice, the pain of giving all your comfort, all your enjoyments, all you would have ever, look like having, because you know that you want a better tomorrow. And so that's what we want to, teach our, the people coming behind us, that you've got to go through the pain. You've got to give something for something. There,
Yeah.
no pain, no gain,
No
no
gain.
scar. If you don't have your test, you can't have a testimony. You
Yeah.
can't come tell me that you are this when you've not gone through your experience. There must be a scar to show where
True.
you're coming from. You must have a
True.
story to tell. And that's
That's
why
true.
this show is hinged on people's stories, people's experience. If you don't have an experience, you don't have anything to teach. Your
True.
story is what is personal to you. It is
Yeah.
unique to you. My story is different from Sean's story,
Yeah.
and likewise Paul's story. So we all are different, and we have peculiar stories and
Yeah.
experiences we have been through life. And when you spoke about the three faces, oh my God, this resonated well with me, knowing that you've got three faces. And those faces are faces where you either are in control or not in control. The
Yeah.
first 30 years, you are partially in control because your parents are the one, guiding you on what
Yeah.
to do. Later on, when you become maybe 25, you become, where we come from in Africa, we are still under our parents. We still live with our parents even at 21.
Mhm.
Until you get married, that's when we see you as an adult. When you leave the house to say you want to go get a spouse, that's when we call being out of the house. But from this other side of the world, at 18, they're off the house. But
Exactly.
and that is different. So for us, we keep struggling and we keep working and we keep seeing ourselves as being, under our parents' guidance until we leave the house. Then we're in control. And it gets to the other one, ending period. Then you're in charge. Your parents do not have much control over you. And then you are the one calling the shots to say, Daddy, I'm going to be traveling tomorrow. I'm
Yeah.
going to this place. And he has no choice. He can't stop you because sometimes it might be business related. It could be church related or something. Then they don't have control. And then they dictate. You understand? Your parents then are probably also retiring. And so
Yeah.
you dictate where you want to take them to,
Yeah.
what
True.
clinic they want to go. They can't come and say they want the highest of clinic. You
Mhm.
decide, oh, this is where my paycheck can
Yeah.
afford
Can. Yeah.
time being. So at all these phases of in life, and there's a time, and the other phase is the yearning period. Then you want to look back and say, once I'm no longer here, what will
Yeah.
people remember me for?
Mm. Yeah.
What would they say Professor Shemo did, Financial Paul did, or Sandra did? We want to be left with something. Not
Yeah.
that, oh, we
Mm.
came and we passed. And that's why I tell people, I said, the graveyard is a place where you have a lot of inventions,
Yeah.
a lot of ideas that never came to
Oh,
limelight. So
that's
as
true.
much as possible, whatever we are, don't think you must get to a certain stage in life to have everything. You might not
True.
have everything. As
Yeah.
long as you are being in the process, start giving out what you have. Teach
Yeah.
others
True.
what you know to do. And
Yeah.
in the batch of teaching them, you are also improving yourself.
Yeah.
That's what I learned from the John Maxwell program. He said, just jump into it. Jump
Yeah.
into the river. If you look at the wind or the sun, you will never sow. He said,
Of
just jump
course.
in it. While in it, you learn and you get good at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And get good at one particular thing. Let people
Yeah.
know you for one thing. And
Yeah.
once you're known for that thing, the moment they call Professor Sheung, oh, he's an academic idea. Once they call Paul, oh, he's into finances. Once they call Sandra, oh, she's into leadership. You want to be known for something. You want people to, once your name rings a bell, they know you for something. So I
Yeah.
want to thank you, Sheung, for all you've said. And this is one of the reasons, they said repetition is the key to learning.
Yeah.
And the
Sure.
only way to make the person understand or to feel that you have a good grasp of what you have just spoken is by
Yeah.
repeating it. I
Yeah.
decided to repeat all this so that
Yeah.
viewers who are just joining can at least get something from this
Yeah.
show and also for it to stick. He says
Yeah.
when things are being repeated, it's for emphasis and sometimes
Yeah.
for it to stick, more. And for me, I have learned a lot, and I know that the viewers online today have also learned. We'll be going for a minute break so that water break, so that my time will come. But then I'm going to be putting my book trailer. Please stay tuned. Just a minute, we'll be back. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for staying put. Thank you for connecting. We appreciate you. Sharon, I probably want to leave 1 or 2 minutes for people to ask questions. Perhaps the people who have questions they want to ask so that they can ask. And before we call it a day, normally it's supposed to be a 35 minutes show, just to give room for others to ask questions. And Paul, if you have anything to say, this is time to say something before we call it a day. Sharon, perhaps if I want to ask you, what would you have as a last words to the audience? What would you want the audience to resonate with? Like a last word. Like I was just discussing this with a friend yesterday or two to say when I went for the leadership training in Florida just a few days ago. When we were about leaving, John Maxwell came on board and he said, failure and success must be kept together, so
Yeah.
close to your hearts. And one thing he said, failure shapes your life even much more than success.
Yeah.
He said, failure keeps you humble. Failure, the things of failure keep it at your heart more than
Yeah.
success. Failure attracts people to you because people want to learn. If you come
Yeah.
and tell people how successful you are, you drive them away. But if you
Yeah.
come to tell them, I have been through this road, I fell here, and I picked up myself, and I'm working, I'm still in the process. People tend to resonate as, oh, he's like us. And that makes them feel at home with you to be able to share their story and come for you, as in ask their question. So what do you have for the audience? What would you want to say as a last word that someone who joined just maybe 5 minutes ago would say, okay, I got something from Professor Oluwaseun Oyekola.
Yeah, so you've talked about failure, the fact that, one of the things that John Maxwell talks about is failing forward. If we are to spend longer time here, I'm sure we all have different tales of so I've had my share of failures along the way, but the bottom line is we always need to remind ourselves, that failure is an event, so we need to keep moving on. That when we look back, eventually what we believe is a big deal at the moment, so whatever situation might be going through at the moment, when you look back in the next couple of years, you see it's nothing. That's one thing. Another thing I'd like to emphasize about has to do with, issue of skill development. It's also been said, there are three different groups of people. You have the unlearned, you have the learning, and you have the unlearned, learning, and the learned. There's a tendency for people to say, what, I've got multiple degrees, so I'm learned. That's not the position to be. The best position to be is to be learning. It's been said that leaders are learners. So if you want to keep leading, if you want to be at the cutting edge, you definitely need to
Okay.
be a learner. So another thing, still regarding skills, is a principle that John Maxwell talks about quite a lot, which is the 70-25-5 principle. 70-25-5 principle. If you add everything
Okay.
together, that would be 100%. So it's the fact that you should focus 70% of your time on your strength. There is tendency for people to want to emphasize on the areas of weakness, spend more time on their weakness, but no, rather focus 70% of your time on your area of strength, and then 25% on those areas where you want improvement, and then 5% on your 5% of your time on your area of weakness. So though you need to do that. And one of the things you take note is actually, if you when you spend that the first 95%, you see that the 5%, will just fizzle out, by default.
It becomes
And
negligible.
finally, sorry,
I said it
yeah, will be
becomes negligible.
negligible. Yeah, thank you. And finally, is something also called being T-shaped. Be having T-shaped skill. If you were to write T, capital T. So you have the upper part, that part, and then you have the horizontal part, you have the vertical part, the longer part. So that have the vertical part as your main thing. So have a major. Don't try, what they say about jack of all trade, master of none. So first have a major, be something that people know you for. You and I have quoted John Maxwell now, only God knows how many times in past 30 minutes. He's got something that is known for. So have something, focus on that area of your strength. So that is your, the vertical. And
Yeah.
over time, you can then start developing, spread yourself out as well. So, for example, as Sandra mentioned when she was introducing me, how my focus has been in the academia. But later on, I also started spreading out into issue of mentorship, coaching, developing youth and the rest. So the bottom line is have a focus and before you start spreading out. Otherwise, if you start spreading out, you'll be irrelevant. You'll spread yourself so thin and be irrelevant. So it's essential, have a focus before you spread out. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Hello, Paul. That's awesome. Very
I'm with
mind
you.
blowing.
I'm
Mind
with
blowing.
you. Yeah, I'm just learning
I have my
from.
sheet so filled up. I have a lot I put down. It was a blessing. It really, really,
Thank you.
really, really thrilled. The T shape, I'm hearing that for the first time. Get focused. Get focused first before you start spreading. You don't spread out
Exactly.
first. You don't spread out because you might lose your
Your
essence.
thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get focused and then later you start spreading. That's awesome. You let something great with me. And I'm sure the audience too are glad you're here on this show. And Paul, you have something to say?
Exactly. I'm just here because I know we have quite a number of people that are coming up every Monday to do great works, and I'm just trying to learn. One of the things that I realized that if you want to spread, want to
I guess network. I hope we've not lost him.
okay, I'm here. Can you hear me now?
Sure, sure.
Great. I think one of the things I learned from Mr. Shewa, and I can also buttress on that, is that when you start focusing on so many things, you have a mixed audience, or you have a mixed people who are interested. Take for instance, you are pushing a particular what was it called? Like Sandra now, she's speaking on leadership, and you wake up tomorrow, you talk about education, like Mr. Sherwin is on, and you wake up another day, talk about politics, you talk about finance, you have mixed audience. People don't really know what they know you for. No, but when you have already pushed, you started on a single focus, and you've generated a lot of what is it called, attention, and the interested people, and you know that those people also have other areas of their life. They are not just focused on education, but they need to just get to know you from one, and by the time you want to impact them in other areas, then you cannot be an influence on them. So but when you start by just talking about different areas, you can't grab them, you can't be an influence over them, because they just look at it, you just have mixed audience. So you have confused audience. But when you already focus on one person, one area, and you pitch out and you grow your influence and you reach out to a number of people, then you start talking about different areas of their life and they are ready to follow you, to hear from you and learn from you. So this is also one of the on that T part that on that side that Mr. Sean talked about, focus, then you now branch out to different areas. I think it's a very, very key one.
Thank you so much, Sean. We appreciate your time. I
Thank
want to
you.
thank our audience that are connecting from everywhere in the world. Thank you for staying put. We appreciate you. Thank you. If you want more information on this channel, you can send us a mail at info@deepinsideworld.com. Thank you very much and have a blessed evening. Bye.
Cheers, everyone. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
You.